What is Rassie, Erasmus and the Springboks problem with Hacjivah Dayimani? Don't know what I'm talking about? Let me explain. So the first Springbok alignment camp squad for 2024 got announced yesterday, and there were a couple of notable names missing. Some of them playing overseas, which is understandable. They have commitments to their other clubs. But one name in particular, Hacjivah Dayimani, was lit up in every single comment section that I could find on the internet, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. Where is Hacjivah Dayimani? Is Rassie Erasmus blind? Well, I think there's three main reasons that Hacjivah Dayimani hasn't been included in the squad. It's not saying that he's never going to play for South Africa, but I do think these are the three reasons why Hacjivah Dayimani has never touched a Springbok jersey. The first reason I could think of was Dayimani's style of play. If you think about the great number 8s that have put on the Springbok jersey in recent times, you probably think of the recently retired Duane Vermeulen and probably Piers Spies. Two very, very strong ball carriers, very physical, decent under the high ball, and very, very good at defense. Now, if you take a look at what Dayimani has been doing for the Stormers, he's a very, very good number 8, but he just doesn't fit into the South African mold of a number 8. He's very athletic, he's very agile, he offloads, he's a very dynamic player, and maybe his defense isn't up to scratch of what a Duane Vermeulen or a Piers Spies was back in the day. So I do think that Hacjivah Dayimani has an unbelievable set of skills, but I think his limitation in terms of Springbok rugby is that he doesn't fit the typical mold of a Springbok number 8. He'd probably be more suited for an All Blacks position or a Fijian position or even an Australian position where they offload a little bit more, where they're a little bit more agile, where they don't just want sort of that corpus stump rugby. Reason number 2 that I think Dayimani hasn't made the squad is because of the depth that South Africa has in that number 8 jersey. With Duane Vermeulen now retiring from the number 8 jersey, there were a couple of questions of who's going to take over that jersey. Now, two players who were at the World Cup who will probably take over for an interim period is Jasper Visser and Kwagga Smith. Now, both of them are slightly older. Jasper Visser is now 28 and Kwagga Smith is 30. So I do think they're going to form as that experience in the Springbok camp. If you remember the video we uploaded yesterday, we spoke about how Rassie is implementing the older guys with the younger guys to show the younger uncapped players the ropes and the systems that the Springboks run on. So I think we will see Jasper Visser and Kwagga Smith playing in that jersey, especially this year for the Irish games, for the game against Portugal and for the Rugby Championship. But I think what Rassie is trying to do is try to develop extremely young players with an eye on the 2027 World Cup. Now it's all good. We have Jasper Visser and Kwagga Smith, and people will still say, but Dayimani is probably a little bit better than both of those players. He's more dynamic, but the problem is the depth is even greater than that. Domestically, we have Ivan Roos, who plays alongside Dayimani for the Stormers. Dayimani typically plays number 8. Ivan Roos typically plays flank number 7. But Ivan Roos's dominant position is that 8th man position, and he's more of the build that you would expect from a South African number 8. He's hard, he's physical, maybe not athletic or agile as Dayimani, but like we said earlier, that is the mold of a Springbok number 8 at the moment. Then from the Bulls, we've got Cameron Hanekom and Mpele Gumede. Hanekom has been handpicked as sort of one of the up-and-coming South African players within rugby. He's only 21. He's been making headlines for the Bulls. He's putting some stellar performances for them. He actually currently sits 62nd in the top 100 players in the URC in terms of impact play. So he's up there. He's 21. By the time the 2027 season comes, he'll only be 25. So that's, I think, the type of guy that Rassie is looking for. Someone who's very, very young that they can mold into the number 8 that they won for the 2027 World Cup and for the 2031 World Cup. And then Gumede, who plays alongside Hanekom, is only 23. Also very, very explosive, very big time ball carrier. Maybe a little bit more Dayimani-esque, but he is a little bit younger than Dayimani at the moment. And then staying in South Africa, you're looking at players like Ulrich Lohr, Frankie Horn, who plays for the Lions, who are probably also contenders for for that number 8 jersey. Now, those are only the guys within South Africa. Then you're talking about guys overseas who are playing in Japan, who are playing for in the English Premiership, like the Dupree brothers, who could both play 8. You've got Ruan Ackerman, who could also play in that 8 position for the Springboks. So yes, it is all good and well saying that Dayimani needs to make this team, but if you look at it and break it down how we just did, I just named about 10 players that could play in that number 8 jersey for South Africa. A couple of them, majority of them, have that more molded South African Springbok number 8 look. Dayimani is a little bit different. Not a bad thing. He's still an incredible player, but I'm just saying what a South African 8 is normally like, historically like. There's about 10 other guys who can do that job at the moment. So most of them who are a little bit younger than Dayimani. Yes, you got the experience like Jasper Visser and Kwagga Smith, which leads me into my third reason, and that is timing. You have to remember that the last 4-year cycle from 2019 to 2023, a lot of the World Cup winning Springboks who won the 2019 World Cup stayed on and played in the 2023 World Cup, which gave us a very, very experienced side, and which ultimately we managed to defend it. But now a lot of those Springboks that played in the 2023 World Cup won't be available for the 2027 World Cup. Yes, they might be mid to late 30s, maybe like a Dion Fourie we saw in the 2023 World Cup, but that's not the prime you want your players in. You want them between sort of 28 and 30 for a World Cup. Now, Dayimani turns 27 this year, which means he'll be 31 by the time the World Cup comes in Australia in 2031. Now, if you were Rassie Erasmus or the South African coaching staff, would you not take Hanekom, who's 21, Gumede, who's 23, Ivan Ruiz, who just turned 24, or Ulrich Loh, who's 24? These guys are going to be in their prime in 2027 and then will be able to play in the 2031 World Cup. So it's all good in saying that Dayimani should be in the squad. He deserves it. I understand that. As a fan, as a South African rugby fan, I agree. Dayimani should get an opportunity to play in the Springbok colours. He's been one of the highlights for the Stormers so far this season. He's been one of the highlights in South African rugby so far this season. But if we take off our biased hats, if we look at it from an objective standpoint, then you can see how much depth South Africa has, probably 10 to 12 players that could play in that jersey. When you take into the fact Dayimani's age, and when you take into the fact his playing style, you start to paint a picture of maybe why Rassie Erasmus and the coaching staff have not included him in that squad. Now, in saying that, that doesn't mean that Dayimani isn't going to play in a Springbok shirt. He might still. This isn't a finalized squad or anything. This is just getting some youngsters in so that the experience like Jasper Visser, Kwagga Smith, Andre Polo, those type of guys can teach the youngsters the system. So don't get too caught up in it. Hopefully Dayimani will get his chance someday in a Springbok jersey. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this debacle that is the Hacjivah Dayimani situation. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave this video a like. I'll check you guys in the next one. Peace.